The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Well, the last time we were on with you guys, we said we'd leave it up to a surprise as to whether or not we'd be talking over the Thanksgiving games. We were unsure whether or not there'd be any games played on Thanksgiving, and surprise, there weren't. So it's been a couple of weeks here, but we're happy to be back. This is the Thursday night edition of the Box Score Breakdown. I am Alan Strokey, joined by my fellow host, David Bracey. David, how are your holidays?
Oh, they were really short, but really good, so I can't complain.
Same here. It was goes by. They always seem to go by a little quicker than you'd hope. And like we were talking about earlier, we're both fat and happy after the fact. So
That's right.
Hope everyone else had fantastic Thanksgivings as well. It's been too long since we've been doing this. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but it feels a lot longer to me. I love doing these shows with you guys, and I hope that you enjoy what we've got for you tonight. We have 4 games on the docket. All should be pretty easy to get through. Just as easy as a cup of Hawaiian Isles Kona coffee goes down your throat. It is the best coffee that I've tasted. I've finally got myself a bag. I'm trying the product that we plug here on Hoopball, and the stuff's up to snuff, guys. It is really good. You should check them out on their website, hawaiianisles.com. You can look them up on Amazon by searching for Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee, or you can also find them on Twitter at HI Kona Coffee. That's Kona with a K. They are the title sponsor here at Hoopball for the Box Score Breakdown, all Hoopball podcasts. They're fantastic. Please give them a look. Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. Get yourself a cup today. Yeah, it really is good. It's been taking me too long to actually get my hands on some. I don't know if you've ever tried them, David, but if not, like our listeners, you should probably get yourself some. They're pretty good.
I have not, but I do have Amazon Prime, so I think I'll be getting some very soon.
That's perfect. That is perfect. All you have to do is just search Hawaiian Isles on Amazon, and they're right there. So that's great stuff there. We have 4 game slate, like I mentioned. And we start off tonight in Washington, where we have a surprising victory from the short-handed Washington Wizards. They win 119-113 over the Philadelphia 76ers, an effort largely led by Davis Bertans off the bench, 7 3-pointers, including 4 in a row in the second quarter that put the Wizards out in front and kept them there for the rest of the game. He was out, lights out, finished with 25 points on 9 of 16 shooting, 7 threes, a rebound, and a steal. And also aided by Rui Hachimura, who had 27 points on the night, 11 of 18 from the floor. He had 43 minutes, too. They're really riding the rookie hard right now while they're down some bodies. Down some pretty important ones, too, which we'll get to in a little bit here. But yeah, he rounds out the rest of his line with 7 rebounds, 2 steals, and a 3-pointer himself. And yeah, so like this Wizards team, they are out Thomas Bryant. It was revealed, I guess 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago that Thomas Bryant was out with a stress fracture in his foot. He's set to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. And David, what do you see being the biggest test for these Wizards? Like, who's going to have to step up in his absence?
I really think that Mo Wagner's going to get the lion's share of the opportunity there with Bryant being out of the lineup. But as you said, Bertans, I mean, he's definitely got the more versatile offensive skill set, and I think they're really going to definitely look to him a lot more after tonight's big performance. But he's been consistent this season, and he's really been contributing very heavily and successfully in the 3-point category. So definitely a guy to keep your eye on.
Yeah, no, Bertans. Wagner was also my thought of being the guy who would step into the biggest role. He came back from I think it was an ankle injury. He came back from that tonight and saw 26 minutes in the starting lineup. Only 5 points, but 11 rebounds, an assist, and a steal on 2 of 6 shooting. The game before, when they had no centers, Washington did roll with Bertans a lot out there. I mean, I think Rui started at center, but that's never he's already got enough to deal with the learning curve as being a rookie in the NBA. Bertans, with his floor spacing ability, and yeah, he has no real interior presence, but he has enough size to sort of take minutes at that spot. And yeah, I think you're right that he looks like he's going to have a big offensive role moving forward with this team. I mean, it's also worth noting that Isaiah Thomas, who's another big contributor on offense, was also absent from this game. I didn't catch exactly what he was out with. I can take a look at that real quick. But yeah, he was out of the lineup, which led to Ish Smith hopping in and taking in some starters minutes, and he had a pretty decent ball game. He had 18 points, 8 assists. He had a rebound as well and a couple of 3-pointers. And that was 19 points, not 18 points for Ish Smith. And the injury to Isaiah Thomas is a calf thing. I think he's just going to be day to day. But yeah, I mean, this is a Wizards team that's kind of all over the place right now. Do you see what else? Who else do you think? Well, I mean, I guess there's no one really else that can sort of step into value here. Wagner seems like the logical guy to pick up if you haven't. Bertans should probably be owned in most leagues at this point. I don't think. Do you think there's anyone else on this team that could be an ad? I'm not sure if I can see anyone.
No, I agree with you. I definitely think Bertans should already be on a roster, and if he's not, definitely a problem that you want to correct personally.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mo Wagner, I think, as you said, is going to get the lion's share of the opportunity there. So just, I think, more of a wait and see approach with him.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even notice this until now, but Jan Mahimi made his season debut tonight. He actually saw 13 minutes, and that actually changes. I mean, that's a real center that the Wizards can roll out there. So I think he's also a guy. He's not going to be a guy who I think anyone should look at in pretty much any format, but he will take some minutes. So that will probably, I think, more than anything, cut into Wagner's ability to maybe get all the way up to 30 minutes. I was kind of hoping that maybe he'd get that to that point, but maybe mid-20s is where he'll cap out. And yeah, that's. I guess the only other line worth mentioning is, of course, Bradley Beal. You know that he's going to just take a ton of shots, as he should with this team. He finished his night with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, and a 3-pointer on 7 of 24 shooting in 38 minutes played. That's just pretty par of the course for the man. Just continue to roll him out there as you normally would. Let's turn our focus to the Sixers and what went wrong here for them. I mean, like, how can you drop a game to this depleted Wizards team? I mean, I know that they're without Josh Richardson, but I mean, man, what do you get? What is the first takeaway that you think you get from this game when you see this result?
Well, definitely watching a little bit of the game tonight, and definitely, I mean, it's very clear in the box score, but turnovers, I think, really killed the Sixers tonight. They just have really been struggling offensively to kind of find a rhythm. I know that they've added some new pieces, and we had some questions on how those pieces would alter their overall offensive look, but I don't think anybody really anticipated it causing, I don't want to say this much turmoil, but I think that there's just a lot of growing pains going on right now, and they kind of have a lot of versatile players, so they're still trying to put it together. But perfect example of that, I mean, tonight between Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons, they had, looks like 15 turnovers. I mean, that's going to kill you right there. Joel Embiid had 8, Ben Simmons had 7, and that's really just going to put you out of a position to really close out a game. So,
yeah, no, you totally got it right. I mean, there's way more. Everyone thought these guys were just going to steamroll the Eastern Conference, and I mean, they have a losing record on the road. They just have not been the juggernaut that we all thought they were going to be. And turnovers are a big issue. They have been a team that's really struggled finding offense in the fourth quarter, and then there's a whole lot of stylistic reasons for that. But yeah, this is it's not pretty right now. I mean, the numbers from the regulars are gaudy, as you would expect, because this bench is super light. But I mean, Josh Richardson's out of the lineup, a guy who's playing 30 minutes a game, and there's not a single one of these guys who can step up into fantasy value. Like, none of them. You had Korkmaz started in the shooting guard. Yeah, he started at shooting guard tonight, played 20 minutes, got 8 points and 2 3-pointers. If he's not hitting threes, he's doing nothing for you, for your fantasy team. Yeah, and I mean, there's just nothing across the roster. I mean, depth-wise, we all knew that was going to be an issue, but still, no one stepped up. No one even seems like they're close. I guess the only one that has any sort of interest at all is Matisse Thybulle, the rookie, who saw 31 minutes off the bench in this one, and he got 2 steals and 2 blocks, which you love. but he's not going to do much else for you. He also got 6 assists, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, we'll take that. That was definitely surprising, but I agree to your point. I think Thibault, in his rookie season, he's definitely going to be pretty limited offensively, and that really wasn't what they drafted him for. They drafted him for that defensive upside. So I think in his fill-in opportunity for Josh Richardson's short-term absence, it's going to be pretty muted lines from him as far as offensive output. So that's just it. Kind of is what it is. But as far as the big guys go for the Sixers tonight, Toby Harris got 39 minutes. Had 33 points on 13 of 28 from the field, had 3 3-pointers, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and only 1 turnover. So, personally, I think Tobias Harris has really been a surprise for me. I kind of thought that he might be the odd man out in this new crowded front court in Philadelphia, but he really has kind of, looked to, honestly, kind of take the lead as their premier perimeter player in Jimmy Butler's absence. So, a strong line from Tobias Harris tonight. Al Horford got 28 minutes, 11 points on 4 of 8 from the field, had 3 3-pointers, 5 rebounds, an assist, 2 turnovers, a steal, and a block. So generally doing Al Horford type of things. Most of the time his stat lines aren't really going to jump off the page at you unless Joel Embiid's sitting out. But I feel very confidently that he's going to continue to cruise and end up in the season comfortably in the top 50. So definitely a guy who I'm enjoying having on my rosters. Embiid actually scored points tonight, so that's always a good sign. Got 35 minutes, 26 points on 7 of 12 from the field, so that's really strong. 11 of 14 from the free throw line is also very strong. Had a 3-pointer, had 21 rebounds. You love that. 8 turnovers you don't love, and then only a block. So definitely defensively, the numbers have been, I don't want to say on a decline this year, but they haven't been as voluminous as they were in previous seasons. But I think that overall he's really starting to find his rhythm offensively, and hopefully we can get another fuller season out of Embiid as his game totals continue to rise, as his career continues to develop. We already touched on Korkmaz, as you said. When he's not really hitting shots, there's not a whole lot to discuss there. Did get 20 minutes. And then Ben Simmons got 35 minutes tonight, 17 points on 8 of 10 from the field. 1 of 4 from the free throw line is absolutely atrocious. 5 rebounds, 10 assists, 7 turnovers, and 3 steals. In the last 12 games, Ben Simmons, I think, has had at least 2 steals in 9 of them. So defensively, you love that. I'm sure he's one of the league leaders in steals per game, but the turnovers, the free throw percentage, the lack of 3-pointers, those are things that are just really killing his value, and I'm sure really hampering your teams. But as you say, we know what Ben Simmons is at this point. We know what he does. We know what he doesn't do. So hopefully he can kind of rein it in and minimize the turnover volume. But as far as the free throw concerns and the 3-pointers, that's just not looking to change. Do you see really anything else on this roster?
Nah, you really touched on everything that's relevant, and it's like it is just the 4 main guys for this team. I guess the one thing I'd like to note before we leave this matchup is this Wizards team is going to get crushed rebounding the ball. And no, they didn't tonight. They won the game and they still lost the rebounding battle by like three boards. But you're going to see some crazy individual numbers from like guys like, say, like your Joel Embiid's. It doesn't surprise me at all that he saw 21 boards tonight. They have no one. Washington has no one without Thomas Bryant that can really hold their own in that regard down there. So keep that in mind in DFS cards. You see the Wizards on there, think, all right, well, who's the starting center going up against them? Because they might see some crazy rebounding numbers as a result. That's my only other thought on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I have Drummond, and I'm looking forward to him visiting the Wizards next Monday.
Oh, he's going to feast. They are not ready to contain that man.
Not at all.
Most teams aren't. They're very ill-equipped too.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to the next game of the night, and it was a blowout, a 37-point win by the Denver Nuggets in New York. Shouldn't surprise anyone. The Nuggets in this one did their usual thing. It was a balanced attack with a lot of production off the bench because of the nature of the blowout. Leading scorer for this game was for the Nuggets was Will Barton. He had 17 points on 6 of 9 shooting, 4 for 4 from 3-point land. He added in 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal to his line. He's been giving you pretty consistent value on the season. He's worth owning in most settings. The big story for the Nuggets this year has been Nikola Jokic and his inability to realize the first round value that we've seen out of him for the last 3 seasons. He's been really bad, really out of shape. Everyone's made note of the weight issues and the lack of conditioning that appears. Jokic just doesn't seem like he's able to keep up with these more athletic guys, these faster players. And tonight you can write off a lot of the Nuggets starters because of the nature of the blowout, but even then, Jokic still had only shot 3 of 7 from the field. He only got 6 points. The rebounds and assists were there for him: 10 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 block shot. But yeah, man. I mean, do you have Jokic in any spots? I have him in a pretty important league of mine. He's a keeper league, so there's I don't feel too bad about taking him because obviously you keep him. I don't have a choice in the matter, but it's really been disappointing to watch him this season. Do you have any? I mean, what do you take away from his poor play?
Yeah, I really can't figure it out at this point. I mean, as many analysts have said, he's historically a slow starter, but I mean, the guy looks like he's sleepwalking out there. He's really struggling, and I cannot figure out what it is. Earlier I said, he was definitely a target. I think he's still a target for a buy low opportunity, but definitely at your own risk at this point, because I'm really just wondering when that corrective curve is going to hit and we're going to see the production that most of us would have invested in him expecting. So you really just may be playing the long game here with Jokic. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, and for personal reference here, Jokic has been a buy low guy all year, and people in my league that I have him in have been very keenly aware of that. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, I was getting offers for Pascal Siakam for him, which, I held off on because I'm just, Jokic is a first-round player. I wasn't willing to get rid of him a month into the season because of that historical slow start thing that you mentioned. Since then, I've gotten an offer, Kemba Walker, for him, which I also declined. Now I'm starting to see things where people are offering me Jason Tatum for him, which is ridiculous, I feel like, but I actually don't even know. I mean, I don't really know where he finishes the season. I'm afraid to take any of these offers because I know what he can be. It's just a really tough spot to be in if you own Nikola Jokic, because just what this guy can do. Maybe it's easier if you don't have him in a keeper league like I do, and I just know what he's been to my team for the last few seasons. But I mean, I feel like I'm stuck. It's really hard to get proper value for this guy right now.
Yeah, understandably. I don't see him falling outside of the top 30, as far as like the rest of the season goes, but I mean, drafting a guy like you said, where you drafted him and just getting top 30 values, it's not ideal in any circumstance. So
yeah, certainly not. So hopefully he turns that around. His backup counterpart, Miles Plumlee, had a really good game in this one. Mason Plumlee, the better Plumlee. He had 11 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, and a block. That might be his best game on the season. He did that all in 21 minutes. He's, you're not going to do anything with that. He was a very good fantasy player last year, and it's actually kind of surprising that he hasn't been usable at all this season, considering Jokic's struggles. But he's not seeing the touches or the playing time. Really, he's not even getting the playmaking opportunities that, he's a pretty good assist-gathering big man. He's not even seeing much of those this season. So don't get coaxed into this attractive fantasy line from tonight. He's not going to be a guy that'll help you in the meantime. Let's see. Paul Millsap had an okay game. He's been balling out, playing at like a top 70 rate over the last month. He had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks in this game. In 22 minutes, that's pretty good. Elsewhere, you got Gary Harris is an interesting guy for this team. He's sort of the fringe starter of the group. He had 8 points on 3 of 4 shooting, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. Still kind of giving you, nothing, really, with all these starting opportunities. And I don't really know where and or if that gets better for him. Any other nuggets jump out to you, David?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we jump towards the Knicks? What's the biggest thing that jumps out from you on the Knicks side of things here? I know I'm not really setting you up with a really nice-looking list of fantasy guys, but what do you see?
I see some very, very rough shooting tonight. It looks like I don't know what was happening. It looks like it was a rock fight over here in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the issues with a lot of these Knicks players, which is why, truthfully, I did not target any Knicks players in any of my fantasy drafts. I even thought Mitchell Robinson he was just, he was going too high for my liking personally. But looking at the stat lines tonight, we'll start off with Marcus Morris back in action, 26 minutes, 10 points on 4 of 13 from the field, 2 threes, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. Julius Randle, 21 minutes tonight, 6 points on 2 of 9 from the field, 2 of 4 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, no defensive stats. Taj Gibson, 18 minutes, 4 points on 2 of 3 from the field, one of the stronger field goal percentages of the night, but again, only 4 points, so not a whole lot of volume there. 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and a block. RJ Barrett, 21 minutes, 9 points on 4 of 10 from the field, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block, and 3 turnovers. So you like the defensive stats, but again, offensively, pretty muted line. And then Franklin Ntilikina starting at the point guard tonight, 23 minutes, 9 points on 3 of 5 from the field, had 3 3-pointers, had 1 assist, and had absolutely nothing else. So as far as the starters go, really did not do a whole lot in the time that they were given. Mitchell Robinson, actually one of the most productive guys for the Knicks tonight, high scorer, 29 minutes, 17 points and 6 of 8 from the field, had 7 rebounds, had an assist, had 2 steals, and had a block. So you definitely love that line from Mitchell Robinson. You probably would love it more if he would have been in the starting lineup, but the fact that he got 29 minutes, that's more than anybody else. So we'll take it regardless of how he's getting them. You like that. Only other guys maybe worth discussing. Bobby Portis, 26 minutes tonight, 10 points on 3 of 8 from the field, had 4 rebounds, had a block, no steals, no assists. Kevin Knox, 21 minutes, 8 points on 3 of 8 from the field, 2 rebounds, a steal, and a block. Dennis Smith Jr., 4 points, 2 of 5 from the field, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 turnovers. So any value right there, I mean, that just went absolutely out the window. So there's really not a whole lot from the Knicks, and I think that it shows in the fact that they got blown out by 30 points. I mean, they really, really struggled tonight, and they're going to continue to struggle for the rest of the season. I don't see a whole lot of value here.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There is not a lot of value, both just because from a talent perspective, but just the way this team is coached and the way that the rotations are built. The guys that could have value are just buried, like Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench for some godforsaken reason behind Taj Gibson. It boggles them, and Bobby Portis, those two switching out ahead of him. It's mind-boggling, and you kind of chalk it up to David Fizdale coaching to save his job. The whole Knicks mantra in this offseason was just like, hey, we're playing to win games. While trying to lick their wounds from the disastrous free agency, they just signed all these random veterans just so that they could have a better record than they did last year. Doesn't even look like that's going to happen. Instead, they just have a bunch of kind of like journeymen taking minutes away from guys that they should be developing. Mitchell Robinson, I agree that he was taken a lot high. The hype really was high with him, and it was for good reason. He won a lot of people leagues last year. He was huge down the road, down the stretch as like a first round talent, but he's just not seeing it tonight. A lot of it's that rotation stuff. A big part of it is also his inability to stay out of foul trouble, and it should be commended tonight. I wish we had a soundboard so I could blare some alarms or something. He didn't have a single personal foul in this one, which is huge for him. That's like a huge hindrance to his value. The fact that he even saw 30 minutes, I mean, I know it's a blowout, but he hasn't even been getting this sort of run in those blowouts because of the foul trouble. So if he can figure that out, he might force the coaching staff to play him those 30 to those minute thresholds that would make him worth the pick that it took to get him. I see him as kind of a buy low because at one point or another, the Knicks are just going to have to reconcile with the fact that they're garbage and just start playing their young guys. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. One last thing on this team is Elfrid Payton made his return tonight from a multi-game absence. I think he missed his last 20 games or so with a hamstring thing. He only saw 11 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. I talked about earlier how I thought he might be an interesting sort of flyer if you have a guy that you're not going to miss at the end of your bench. mostly just because of his propensity to get rebounds and assists and steals. Like, he's kind of like a triple-double threat, and just following the MO of David Fizdale and this Knicks coaching staff, they like rolling with the vets. So it sort of lines up with just bench Frank Ntilikina and Dennis Smith for the veteran, because you're already doing that with all these with Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson. But I don't know. I'm sort of moving off of that. I don't think that there's a lot there. Yeah, I don't know. That's the Knicks for you. Why don't we just move on to the next one, David? I think we've seen all we need to see here. Let's see. Third game of 4 tonight. Houston Rockets versus the Toronto Raptors. This is a fun matchup. I wish I could have seen it. It was 119 Rockets to 109 Raptors. The Rockets in this one, I know there was a scary moment in the game where James Harden took a shot to the head and he had to leave, but he came back, no concussion, nothing to be concerned about. He saw 40 minutes, and surprisingly, he didn't take many shots in 40 minutes. He went 7 of 11 from the field, en route to 23 points, added 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 steals, 3 3-pointers, and a perfect 6 of 6 from the line. The big shot taker and not so much shot maker of this game was Russell Westbrook, who shot a awful 7 of 27 from the field, took 27 shots and only got 19 points. That is brutal. Gosh. I'm glad I dodged him everywhere I could. He's destroying teams right now with shooting in like this. He had 8 turnovers too. Oh my God. Yeah. Pretty awful line for a triple-double. 19 points, 13 rebounds, and 11 assists, but the 7 of 27 shooting and the 8 turnovers are like insurmountably bad for your fantasy team. If you're a 9-cat, if you're an 8-cat, you can sort of get away with it, but that field goal percentage is disastrous. Sorry, I'm gonna take a pause after that. Let me gather myself.
Well deserved.
Let's see. Elsewhere, PJ Tucker had a great game. 18 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. 5 3-pointers on 6 of 12 shooting. He's just trucking along and should be a top 70 fantasy guy, I think, for the rest of the season. I mean, he's aging like fine wine, especially with this Rockets team. He's just a perfect fit, and he will get you stats. Another guy who will just get you stats is the young guy, Daniel House, made his return tonight from illness. He played 27 minutes off the bench with 16 points, 3 assists, and a rebound, and 3 3-pointers. He's going to replace Ben McLemore in the starting lineup pretty soon, probably even in his next ball game, who I guess before I just gloss over him, Ben McLemore had a huge scoring game. He actually led the team in scoring. He had 28 points on 9 of 18 shooting with 8 3-pointers. Those 8 threes are probably a career high for him. I haven't been tracking the career that long, but I know it hasn't been good enough to probably get 8 threes in a game, so that's a huge mark for him. 2 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. But I mean, like I said, I don't see a scenario in which he continues to start over Daniel House. I think he's definitely earned himself a good role coming off the bench as like a lead scoring guard with Austin Rivers. But yeah, I mean, that's House's role, and he's been really, really good for the Rockets this season. I don't think that they're going to try and break up their starting unit. And what do you think? Any other sort of takeaways from this Rockets team for you?
No, I agree with you. I think once House gets his feet back under him, Ben will kind of shift back to a smaller role.
Yeah, and yeah, so don't go picking him up. If you're in a points league, don't go picking him up. He doesn't have the fantasy stat set to be a guy worth owning, and he's pretty soon not going to have the role either. So move on from that one. Raptors side, it was game 2 of trying to reintegrate Kyle Lowry, and he played much better in this one than his last ball game out. He had 19 points with 5 of 8 shooting in 42 minutes, added 8 assists and 5 rebounds on the night and 3 3-pointers. He's a guy who was posting early round value before he went down with an injury, and I think that there's still a chance that he could sort of get you somewhere between 3rd and 4th round value in a perfect world. Obviously, the emergence of Fred VanVleet is adding an interesting wrinkle to that, because VanVleet's been amazing all year, and he continues to be really good. He had 20 points in this one on 7 of 13 shooting, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 3 3-pointers. Um, I don't know, David. Do you have a take on this Lowry Van Vliet situation? How do you see it breaking down the line?
I think that it really is just going to continue to be kind of a minute share opportunity between the two, but I think it's one on a more positive scale just because Toronto really doesn't have a whole lot of ball handlers to go around. So you would assume that Lowry or Van Vliet is always one of the two is always going to be on the floor. Because really the only other ball handler outside of those two would be a Norman Powell or obviously Siakam, but those are not going to be your primary ball handlers. So I think it's honestly a pretty ideal situation. I love FVV. I mean, you were able to get him really, really late in drafts, so that's always great when a guy that was one of your later picks ends up being one of your better players. And we all know what's going to happen with Kyle Lowry eventually. His body's going to atrophy. He's going to end up not playing games right when you need him because that's Kyle Lowry. So hopefully you have FVV because this is one of those kind of rare handcuff type of situations in the NBA that you don't see too often.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that both are worth owning. And Van Vliet, while he might not be a top 20 player, he has a real shot at getting you comparable value to Kyle Lowry, which is just a monstrous leap for him. And he could be one of those guys that you see on a lot of first place teams because he's just giving you value that a lot of guys you take in that position won't. And like you said, there's no real backup point guard on this team. Undrafted rookie Terrence Davis sort of took on a lot of that down the line, but I don't think that he's the sort of player. I mean, he's really good, don't get me wrong. I think that the Raptors got a real steal with him, but he's not going to threaten Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet for their 30-minute floors that they're working with right here. So yeah, these two are going to be really good together moving forward. They could really help each other too, I think, because we've seen VanVleet. He's very capable of playing off ball. And that's how the Raptors won the championship last year. Van Fleet was just knocking threes down everywhere, catch and shoot opportunities. He's a guy who is really, everyone talks about how gifted Siakam is and how incredible his ascension has been. Van Vliet's had a very similar impressive trajectory with his career, being an undrafted guy who is just, and he gets better every season. So I like his outlook. Other players worth mentioning on this box, I mean, obviously Pascal Siakam, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals and a block. He's going to continue his early round pace. Serge Ibaka, we're looking at him, he's been coming back from his ankle issue that he dealt with for about 3 weeks. He saw 17 minutes tonight, which you don't love, but he still saw 10 shots, only made 4 of them. 10 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and no defensive stats and no 3-pointers. He's a guy that I'm definitely holding on to because I think that he's one of those guys that he doesn't hurt you from the free throw line. He usually is a pretty good shooter. He has the ability to get you threes and blocks, which is a rare commodity. He's a really cool fantasy asset, and I think that he, if he got dropped, which I know he did from that long absence, and he's still floating around, I think you should take a flyer on him. Really not even a flyer. I think that he's a guarantee to at least compete for top 100 fantasy value, which means he should be on rosters. So, yeah, I like him a lot. And, anything else before we move on to our last game?
No, let's get it.
All right, let's get it. Final game on the docket, and it's actually just 37 seconds left in this game, so it's basically done. Actually, it's looking pretty close. So
very close.
Funny enough, David, this was the last game that we talked about 2 weeks ago. Phoenix Suns versus New Orleans Pelicans. They're back at it. And
right where we left off, huh?
Right where we left off. We could be looking at overtime here, so we'll update you on this close game as we break it down. It's 125 to 123 right now. Advantage Suns. We'll start with the Phoenix side, where this is just a big time showing from Devin Booker. 42 points on 13 to 22 shooting, perfect 11-11 from the free throw line with 5 3-pointers, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals. He's been great this year. He's been better when playing alongside Ricky Rubio, who's really just, I think he's transformed the Phoenix offense. And I'm pretty sure he wasn't playing in the last game, the last time we covered this matchup, and Phoenix lost by, I think they lost in a fourth quarter comeback mounted by Brandon Ingram in the Pelicans side. But, Devin Booker, I think he's clearly benefited from having a true point guard to play alongside of, the best point guard by far that he's ever had to play with. And he's been giving you guys who took him, like, it was kind of hard for Booker to beat his ADP, but he's looking like he could finish a couple slots above it. So that's a good pick. He's working out for guys right now. Rubio, who I mentioned, had 9 points in this game. He has 14 assists, 5 rebounds, and 4 steals. Those are you love those counting stat numbers there from him, and he's going to continue to provide that all year long, provided he stays healthy. We have Frank Kaminsky, who's kind of holding down the center minutes because Aaron Baines is out again, this time with a calf injury. He made it back for 1 game, but was quickly relegated back to the injury wire. He seems like he's day-to-day, though. We'll find out more as that develops. But in the meantime, Kaminsky's going to get the run. He's going to give you, his points, 14 points on 6 of 13 shooting in tonight's ball game with 2 3-pointers, 5 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. All serviceable stuff, but nothing that's going to blow your socks off. He's very, very low end, in my opinion, in terms of streamers, especially because he's a center that can hurt your field goal percentage, which he never really like. But he is going to get opportunity. And rookie Cam Johnson, I'm seeing down here, he has 18 points with 4 threes, 7 of 12 shooting, 6 rebounds, a steal, and a block. That's pretty serviceable stuff. You're not going to go pick him up off of that because there's too many wings in Phoenix for him to produce consistently, but it's cool that he's producing this early on. What else are you looking at here with Phoenix, David?
Yeah, like you said, Cam Johnson looks like, I think we talked about this last time as well. He's continuing to look like a pretty strong source of 3-point streaming. So
yeah,
definitely a guy who, when he's available, given the matchup, might be somebody that you want to take a look at, or in a DFS kind of situation. But outside of that, I'm just really curious to see what the team looks like when they're back at full strength. I can't even say full health because I think DeAndre Ayton was a little bit too healthy, and that's why they suspended him. But once they get him back in the lineup, I'm curious to see how that kind of affects offensive output for guys like Kelly Oubre, what that does to Dario Saric, Frank Kaminsky, those other guys, and really what they end up doing with Aaron Baines, who was looking really, really strong before he was kind of in and out of the lineup with injuries. Wondering if he'll be able to find any of that value that he had earlier in the season, or if he'll kind of get lost in the shuffle of everything. But guess we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's a really interesting wrinkle because I think everyone believes that Aaron Baines brings something of value to the Phoenix Suns, and like he really helped fuel their hot start. I don't think it's any coincidence that they really started. I mean, obviously there was a couple of other injuries, like to Ricky Rubio, who's also an essential player for this team. But when those two are out, Phoenix's hot start quickly went to they have a 9-11 record now. They fell back below 500. Big decisions coming from Monty Williams. Just very big decisions. Ayton's going to cause a ripple effect for pretty much every guy on this roster not named Devin Booker. So we're just going to have to see how that one plays out. He's going to be coming back, I think, what is it, next week? It's mid-December, right? I mean, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be very interesting to see play out. By the way, it looks like this game is going to overtime. If this ESPN ticker I'm looking at is correct, it's 125 to 125. So these lines are probably going to fluctuate a little bit, but for the most part, the analysis will still be pretty accurate. Why don't we jump over to the New Orleans Pelicans side of things right now as we get ready for overtime? David, what do you see here?
So tonight, Brandon Ingram, guess we'll pick up where we left off. 26 minutes, 18 points on 5 of 9 from the field, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. No defensive stats, 6 turnovers, a little bit high. But again, I mean, Ingram looks really, really strong. Had a little bit of a scare earlier when Dario Saric fell on his head, but returned to the game. He's really been carrying the Pelicans offensively. Because I'm really just kind of waiting for Jrue Holiday to get that shot down. And tonight was definitely a better offensive output from Jrue. 23 points on 10 of 15 from the field is strong. Had 2 threes, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals is phenomenal, and a block. 4 turnovers, but again, just the amount of times he's going to have the ball in his hand and the amount of possessions that the Pelicans can generate. I mean, I believe they are are they the highest pace offense in the league?
Yeah, if they're not the top one, they're among the top, 6 or 5 or something, as they have been with Alvin Gentry. They fly, and they have a lot of guys who flow really well in that type of offense.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can kind of expect the turnovers to kind of be loose and free here, especially with the amount of young guys that they got on the team. JJ Redick, 29 minutes tonight, 23 points on 6-9 from the field, 4 3-pointers, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and a steal. And then Lonzo Ball, really strong line tonight. So you definitely love to see that. It's been a long time coming for Lonzo Ball owners. 38 minutes, 20 points on 6 of 7 from the field, has 4 3-pointers, a perfect 4-4 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks, and 6 turnovers. So, as I said, given the amount of possessions that they're working with and the players that they got on this team, turnovers are going to be pretty high. But overall, really strong line from Lonzo. Hopefully he can carry that momentum over into overtime and help them close out the win tonight in Smoothie King Center. Outside of that, really not a whole lot to talk about. Kendrick Williams got 24 minutes tonight, 6 points on 2 of 5 from the field, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks. If forever there's some reason that he gets inserted into the starting lineup, I think that he is going to be, an absolute monster. But it's just about him getting the opportunity. And when they get back to full strength, when they have Derek Favors back in the lineup, when they eventually have Zion back in the lineup, of course, Brandon Ingram, I'm just really wondering what room will be left for Kenny Williams. So, again, that's just kind of a wait and see. And then Josh Hart, 20 minutes tonight, 9 points on 3 of 10 from the field, had 4 rebounds, had an assist, and no defensive stats. So I'm not seeing a whole lot to discuss outside of that. We'll see what happens in overtime.
Yeah, no, you covered pretty much all the hot points there. Yeah, Derek Favors coming back is going to relegate Jackson Hayes out of the not out of the rotation. I think he's earned some rotation stuff, but he's definitely not going to be starting. He's not going to see his mid 20 minutes. If you have him or if you picked him up while Favors has been out, you should probably be prepared or have already moved off of him. But yeah, I guess why don't we just revisit the topic that we ended last Thursday show with, and this Pelicans situation. Have you moved at all on if you own a guy like Brandon Ingram or Drew Holiday? Do you feel that they're sort of in, or why don't we start with Ingram? Do you think he's still in a sell high window? Are you confident now that he's looks like he's maintaining it? Do you want to sell high on him if you have him?
I think at this point you keep him. Really the sell high, I think, opportunity was when he was ranked inside of the top 15, because we just knew that wasn't going to hold, and anybody who was willing to buy in on that, I mean, you really can't pass that up. But at this point, I think the production that he's putting up is pretty consistent and something that he can definitely carry throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's really thriving in the role that he's been given to sort of be a lead shot creator. And we made a good deal about Zion Williams' return mucking things up, which it will. I mean, he's going to command shot attempts. Everyone wants to see him, take a ton of shots. You'll just be curious to see where it all comes from. I think that Brandon Ingram really has proven that this Pelicans team is good when he's good. So I think there's tons of shots that could go around with a really high-paced offense like this. Maybe you see this bench get a little less deep in terms of their offensive production. Maybe a guy like Josh Hart, who's seeing about 10 shots a game off the bench, maybe that comes down. Maybe Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who managed to take 8 shots in 11 minutes tonight. That's probably not going to happen when Zion's back around. I love me some Nah, but that's just not. He's not there yet. But no, I agree. Brandon Ingram, he's definitely turned a corner, or maybe not even that. Maybe he's just in a good situation, which really happens with a lot of young guys in the NBA, where you just get drafted into these situations that aren't really built to your skill sets, or you don't have the right personnel around you, what have you. There's a lot of factors that go into a young guy struggling out the gate. We always knew that Ingram had the talent, and this is a good system for him. So I think I'm going to side with you. I think that you can expect this early round production with him. Yeah. I mean, that just seems like his sort of role now. What about Drew Holiday, real quick, before we tie things up here?
That is a question that I have been weighing very heavily over the past couple weeks. I love Drew. I love Drew, but I definitely think that there's definitely an opportunity to sell here. I wonder what it looks like when Zion does return. just because at the beginning of the season we really saw him looking to not give the keys to everybody else, but allow this Pelicans team and their young talent to really develop. And I wonder if he does take somewhat of a backseat to let Zion find a level of comfort in this offense. Because I'm really wondering where the Pelicans are going to be looking as far as the playoff race. If they're going to be sitting pretty far on the outside looking in, or if they're going to be in any contention whenever Zion does inevitably return. And I think depending on that contention, that's really going to impact his minutes and everything else. So float him out there, maybe see what people are saying, see what kind of offers you can give. But I definitely wouldn't be selling, too eagerly, because I'm perfectly content with what Drew brings every single night from a defensive stat point alone. And I mean, he's consistently going to average, 7-8 assists. He's going to give you that. He's going to give you a steal. He's going to give you a block. I mean, he's going to give you threes. And those are really hard stats to find in the guard position, the blocks and more so. So I definitely think he's a valuable guy that you shouldn't be in a rush to get off your roster.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he's going to be a guy that will move around a lot in terms of what kind of value he's going to give. Just he's such a versatile player that means that you could really kind of put him in any sort of role. And with all the personnel on this team right now, he could be anywhere from a lead guard to a lead shooting guard to a sort of a glue guy. Whatever it is for him, I'm cool with making those kinds of offers. I also could see that he just sort of posts around that top 30-ish value that he's been turning in so far, which is probably less than what you got for him. But, I think it's very serviceable and could really be of help to your team. But if you're in a head-to-head setting and you are concerned about that potential slowing down aspect with the Pelicans falling out of contention, then yeah, you could make a move there. I think, but he's the guy that you should probably look to trade over, say, Brandon Ingram. And that's our show tonight, guys. 4 games in the books. The Phoenix is on a 4-point lead right now, 133-129, with 2 minutes left to go in OT. So we will let that result play itself out. David, where can the good people find you outside this great program?
The good people can get a hold of me on Twitter at DFB_3. I've been drinking coffee tonight, so I will definitely be up. Feel free to get a hold of me, shoot me any fantasy questions and otherwise.
And you can do the same here with me on Twitter. You can follow me at Alan Sroki. That is ALANSROCHI. So if it's a confusing name to spell, you can search Alan at Hoopball. My name will probably pop up. I'm taking that one out of the Best Bris playbook. And real quick before we go, guys, I'd be remiss if I did not say that you not already, should sign up for the weekly newsletter here at Hoopball, produced by our founder and fantastic, one of the best fantasy analysts out there, Aaron Bruschi. He produces a weekly newsletter straight to your inbox every Monday morning. He's already released 6 editions. It's quickly become a part of my Monday morning ritual, guys. He really touches it's just so voluminous. He gets on every single team, all 30 teams he has a little blurb about, gives you in-depth coverage on his Sacramento Kings, if you're into that. You can he has a quick hitter on basically, his favorite storyline of the NBA week, and sometimes he gives you a little slice of life too. It's a great read. He's a really fantastic writer. And guys, it's totally free. All you have to do is sign up at hoopball.com/newsletter. Type in your email address, 10 seconds, boom, it's out into your inbox on Monday. Get a leg up on the rest of the competition. This is premium level content for free. And it's just a great read. So give that a look. Give us a look on Twitter. Happy Thursday, everyone. I hope you all have a great weekend, and we will catch you all next week on the Box Score Breakdown.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.